We're now joined by head coach Kalen DeBoer from the University of Washington. Coach, if you would start with a brief opening statement, we'll open the floor to questions.
Yeah, you bet. It's great to see y'all, and as many days we've been here, it's really going fast. Our guys have enjoyed their trip so far. We've had, I think, really sharp practices here in the Superdome. Proud of the guys' focus, and as the week's gone on, I think we've continued to just ramp up the level of just attention to detail and getting locked in, knowing that the game is quickly approaching now here as we approach what we would look at as a normal Thursday leading up to a Saturday game day. So I know I couldn't even tell you what day of the week it is right now, but that's the way we look at it. So it's been really good. I'm proud of our guys, and looking forward to one more practice here today, and then kind of more of a slower tempo walk-through, run-through tomorrow's practice, and then, of course, game kickoff. So questions?
We'll open it up for questions. Please wait for the microphone to ask your question. And as always, please identify yourself by your name and media outlet. We'll start right here in the front row on the right side.
Hey, Kalen, Ralph Russo from the Associated Press. This team is mostly built up of guys that you didn't recruit, or a big part of the core there. When you're rebuilding, you come into a new program, you're trying to get that buy-in. What's the most important part of selling your message and then getting the players to then sort of sell it to each other?
Yeah, no, I think when I took the job really around December 1st of 2021, along with building a staff and trying to put all that together that month, I was very intentional, and then as the staff formed as well, we were all intentional together on really sitting and listening to our guys talk, hearing what they had to say, just taking a lot of notes, thinking about those things that we were hearing, good and bad, right? And just trying to understand where the program was at, where these guys were at in what they wanted to accomplish, what their chemistry and makeup was, what UW football meant to them. And when we started in January and we had our full staff together, even that first week, it was more of a get to know, and we spent a lot of time sitting around lunch table, and not having meetings, not getting into the workouts, maybe the way that you'd envision it. It was a lot about just getting to know each other, trying to be intentional on building those relationships. And I think those guys, our guys, started to see, hey, we got some good guys, good dudes on this staff that care about you as a person, even before you as a player. And we got into workouts. We did get into workouts that first week, and the vibe from the Monday meeting or the first meeting we had to 5 days later after a week of workouts, walking in that team room, it was completely different. And so I credit our staff. I credit Coach McKeefrey, our strength coach, for building that confidence. I think it comes with organization and showing the team that you have a plan. And then I credit our guys, our team, for really embracing and being open to whatever we were asking them to do. And that wasn't just that week. That's happened ever since we got here day one.
We'll go to the left side front row.
David Upton with The Athletic. When you got here, how would you describe your philosophy in terms of roster building, in terms of how we're going to approach the portal, keeping guys, how would you sort of break that down?
Yeah, I think, took as much information, especially in December when guys were coming into my office and wanting to talk, and some guys already had their mind made up, and they were long gone and in the portal and had left. Really not much you could do there. But just really trying to understand the roster, watching some film and understanding who these guys were, taking in information from staff that maybe were still in the building. And, when it got to January and we got into those workouts, just a lot of communication amongst our coaches on what we were seeing, kind of what we felt, both from the physical standpoint and how they were moving and lifting, but also just paying really attention to the vibe that each guy had, the body language and things like that. Not that they wouldn't be with us, but just understanding how it would all come together. Our staff had 6 or 7 coaches that all came with me, and so we knew what we needed to do to bring it together. And I think that communication, that evaluation was big. But when it comes to the portal, for us, it was about just plugging guys into spots where we felt we had gaps. And we weren't just going to bring a wave of guys in and just anyone who seemed to be able to, run, throw, tackle, whatever, block. We were gonna be very careful because we knew, you might bring 2 guys in and it might push the wrong 2 out. And we wanted to be really careful with that because we felt like there was a base within the program of good football players, great people. There was a lot of high-level things when I was meeting with guys where I could tell that they cared about this place. And when you surround yourself with the right people, you don't need to always go looking for, 15, 20, 25 guys to pull out of the portal and try to just replace everyone. So, it was a fine line there. We brought in roughly 10 guys each year, and those guys have, for the most part, been very critical to our success last year and this season.
Go to the right side, second row.
Kyle Bonneger with ESPN. Kalen, you've obviously coached in the playoffs before. A lot of major differences, of course, but I'm sure there's some similarities. How does the anticipation of this semifinal as a head coach compare to some of the others you've experienced? And then, what can you take away from those playoff runs that's applicable to where you guys are now? Yeah,
when you're at the small college level, you're used to the playoff. For us back then, it was four rounds, win or go home, and that's fun to be a part of. It pushes you to be your best. That's what a lot of people say they want, but when it comes down to those moments, I think that's when you find out really who does want it and who does enjoy the competition. And, we understand what's at stake here. We win, we get to move on, and we get to have the next biggest game of our life, But for right now, this is that one, and we're taking, each day and making the most of our preparation, and that's all you can ask. And my guys know that our team knows that our number one ask is to bring their best energy, attitude, and effort every single day. And when they do that, the work gets done. And when they work to be their best, that's what we're going to do, is we're going to live with the results. And it allows them to play free. It allows them to play, fast and enjoy the moments that we're in, whether it's during the week of prep or on game day. And that's really the recipe. You can't sit and have regrets. So making sure that everything you're doing, you're intentional with your preparation and your focus on the details.
Okay, go to the front row, left side.
Ted Lewis from the Times-Picayune in New Orleans. A couple of things. I don't have to tell you, you worked your way up through some kind of low-profile jobs. What made you feel like when the Washington opening came up, hey, this is it, this is the opportunity, and I'm ready for it? Mm-hmm. Secondly, what do you have to do now? This is great. You're right here, right now. You can win the national championship, but you've got to go to the Big Ten next year. What have you done to prepare your program? How much have you thought about that? What are you going to have to do to maintain the level where you are? And finally, what does it say about Dylan Morris to stick around for this game, even though he's going in the portal and leaving you?
Yeah. Well, the first question was about, I think I'd been on the West Coast for 4 years, at Fresno State, and had a really good understanding of the Pac-12. And, I think even nationally, that there's been a national championship won here. There's been other college football appearance in 2016. I enjoyed following Coach Pete during his time, kind of being on the West Coast myself. And we had a chance to play in 2017 when I was the offensive coordinator in Seattle. And just seeing that environment and understanding the passion, the tradition, the expectations that this community, this university had for its football program, that's something I wanted to be a part of. And we have so many great resources. There's other great shows in town when it comes to the professional sports, but being the major college university there, and with a lot of our alumni sticking right there close to home, it's a passionate fan base that's a lot of fun to be around and be a part of. And so it was really a no-brainer to to be looking at this opportunity and accepting this position as the head coach here at UW. Dylan Morris, I think it just says a lot about, what his path has been, what his journey's been here. I think it's a unique situation for someone to have entered the portal, but it was done so through great communication. That wasn't just here in the last couple weeks. It's been over the last couple years. Ever since we've been here, he's been front and center. He's helped lead this team to where we're at today. He's battled. Our entire team, our coaching staff absolutely love him. We respect him with the utmost, respect that you can have. And I talked to the team a little bit when this kind of was going down, and every single guy on the team was nodding their head when I was sharing, how we were going to approach this with Dylan. It's because we all love him. We know he loves us, and he's still one of the first guys in the building each and every day, even right now, just like it's always been. And he's ready to step on the field, do what he needs to do to help us win a football game. And I always feel like at some point when people are doing right by you and they're so much in your corner like Dylan has been, you have to do right by them. And this time in college football will come and go extremely fast for these guys. And you hope that the greatest experience of their life can happen here in your football program, but it also, doesn't always work out that way. And, I just hope he can enjoy college football as much as possible. And, again, that could be here, but it also, maybe somewhere else. And, we love him to death. And then the move to the Big Ten, in all honesty, we've been so focused on the Pac-12, which was just a grind this year. Just a tough schedule, each and every team being elite. I think that has prepared us for next year in a lot of ways. It wasn't part of the plan, but a lot of our staff is actually from the Midwest. My coordinators really on both offense and defense, both two from Iowa, or one's from St. Louis, one's from Iowa, one's from South Dakota. And so a lot of Midwest ties, other coaches on our staff that have actually coached in the Big Ten, different schools and universities as well. So along with myself and 1 year at Indiana, I think we have a pretty good idea of what these places look like, what the teams are built on, the styles. We've played Michigan State the last 2 years. We went there this year, understand a little bit of the travel. So I think, the recruiting piece, we'll stick to our footprint, on the West Coast, but it has, and I think it will continue to lend itself for us to be able to maybe move a little further east, with occasional guys that we have connections to or people that really, have understood what our program is all about and want to be a part of it.
All right, we'll stay on the left side, the front row.
Kirk Bowles from the Austin American-Statesman. Kalen, Washington was 4-8 the year before you got there. Sark went 5-7 in his first year. Do you think we're going to see more quick turnarounds like that, or with NIL, transfer portal, and what Charlie Baker was proposing, are we going to see greater separation between the haves and the have-nots?
Yeah, I think the potential for the turnarounds does exist with the portal. And, for us, some of those additions that have helped us, Michael Penix, Dylan Johnson, we've already talked about them. They're guys that have certainly got us to this point. And so I think those quick turnarounds are possible. I think the sustained success, is what you got to be also focused on. And so, that building it still from the base with young guys coming up through the program and focusing on developing these guys as both people and football players is still a huge part of our program. But I think, you can plug a guy in and help raise your level where maybe it was a little harder back a few years back, So, I think, that's probably why you've seen a little bit of the success here with Texas and their team too, with some additions they've made to their roster.
All right, we'll go to the right side, front row.
Brandon Marcello, 24/7 Sports. And talking to people in your past, Sid, Curtis Riggs, they were telling me when you were elevated to the head coach at USF that it was pretty much kind of a marriage there between you and Chuck. You're kind of like co-head coaches.
Yeah.
What was it like, that conversations going in to becoming the head coach there and leading the program, and how much did you lean on Chuck, and then also continue to do so today, and how important has that been to your success?
Oh, it's super critical. I mean, Chuck and I were teammates, and I think when you're at that level and you're building a relationship and just the work ethic that I saw, I guess it's been almost 30 years now, 25, 30 years, you see and what people are made of when you're really trying to put a team together. Those are the people you want in your corner. When that whole process went down back in 2005 when I took the head job, having Chuck a part of it was critical. I knew it was. He's been a part of every win I've had as a head coach. Sioux Falls, Fresno, and here. And I think that says a lot about what his impact is in this program. And those moments and those times where we were wearing a lot of different hats at a small college. I know that shaped who both of us are, and I counted on him those 5 years there in a big way, not just to run the defense, but just counting on some insight. He's extremely smart, not just with his football IQ and mentality, but he's just really heady and understanding big picture success, whether it's team or just understanding people. And so he, back then, I even wanted to make sure that he felt good about his position. There was things that I wanted to make sure I was doing to put him up front and center, and he ran the defense along with many other things. And it's just something. When I went to Fresno, I knew I wanted him to be back a part of it. And I think the timing is everything, and the timing for him, having put in, I think, 9 years as a head coach, just helped even solidify even more the things he was telling me, the insight he would give me on his experiences now as a head coach. And that continues to this day. Things we're talking about even this morning, just are things that are in the back of my mind. And I think most of my staff, because they've been with me, they know that, the thoughts they tell me, maybe they aren't the decisions that are made in that moment, but they're things that I take very seriously and help us be very, 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 very smart in the decisions and choices that we make, whether it's player related or scheme related, game management related. We're just all working together. I count on our staff in a big way.
Good morning and welcome to Media Day for the College Football Playoff Semifinal at the All-State Sugar Bowl. We're now joined by head coach Steve Sarkisian from the University of Texas. Coach, if you would start but with a brief opening statement, we'll then open the floor to questions. Thank you.
Yes, well, good morning, everybody. I'd just first like to thank the folks here at the Sugar Bowl. This has been a tremendous experience. The hospitality, the efficiency in which they've allowed us to operate and prepare for the ball game has been tremendous. Can't thank them enough. The city of New Orleans, just unbelievable honor to be here, to be part of the college football playoff. I know that our team has worked extremely hard to get to this point. We recognize we are playing an extremely good opponent in the University of Washington that is talented, that is well coached, that is prepared week in and week out. And so that's the exciting part, to be part of this Final Four, to be playing for a shot for a national championship. I think that's why our guys came to the University of Texas. And so the idea that we're here this year is, like I said, a great honor. It's a great accomplishment. And so we're looking forward to the ball game Monday night.
We'll now open it up for questions. Please wait for a microphone to ask your question. And once again, please identify yourself by name and media outlet. Thank you. We'll start right here in the front row.
Sark, Pat 40 from Sports Illustrated. You've installed Culture Wednesdays, I guess, and I talked to the players. That seemed to resonate with them quite a bit. I'm wondering the idea behind that, and then what you've shared with the team in those situations.
Yeah, I think that we have an adage that culture beats talent, but culture and talent combined is extremely dangerous. And so, you know, when you take over a program, you're trying to figure out where are your issues. You know, what are the issues? And I don't think anybody ever felt like our issue was lack of talent or lack of resources. And so, okay, so where's the issue? And sometimes it takes a minute to figure that out. And I just felt like culturally, we needed to get better. We needed to get more connected. We needed to get more vulnerable. We needed to get honest with one another so that we played more for one another than playing for ourselves. And to do that, I just felt like it was important for me to show them how and what that looked like. And so I became very open, transparent, honest. I didn't want them to judge me by what y'all wrote. I wanted them to judge me for who I was. And that's why I've always given my story every year. I tell them exactly my story, where I'm from, how I was raised, where I went to school, where I worked, why I went to rehab, all the things that has transpired in my life to get me to this point, so that they could get to know Steve Sarkisian, the man, as well as the coach. And I was hopeful that that would open the door to them to want to become vulnerable, to want to be honest with one another, so that they could have some empathy for one another for what somebody has been through to get to this point in their life. And then that just started it. You know, I really believe that culture is organic. I don't think it's a sign up in your team room. I don't think it's a T-shirt that you hand out that you wear around all summer. I believe it's organic, that it grows naturally. And so we take our time with it. And it's not, hey, we do one culture meeting at the start of training camp and forget about it. We literally do it every single week. We find different topics and different things to talk about. And I really appreciate our players and our staff for buying into that idea. And I think early on you're trying to figure out, what are we doing? You know, how does this relate to football? But I believe it does relate to football. I believe that it equates to getting a fourth down stop against Kansas State. I believe it relates to a 3rd and 12 conversion against TCU. I believe it relates to a 4th and 1 stop against Houston. You know, when in those tough moments that you can count on one another, rely on one another, that it's not just about me, it's about everybody doing their part. And so, like I said, I think it's been a great experience. I do believe that being a head football coach at our level, I know we're trying to minimize that with the transfer portal and NIL and all these things, but I feel like we have a responsibility to raise these guys and to be quality men in society. And to do that, we have to expose them to these types of conversations, help them along the way, understand there's going to be bumps in the road, that ultimately when they come out on the other side, they're going to look back on their experience at the University of Texas and say, I'm glad I did that because I'm a better father, I'm a better husband, I'm a better friend, I'm a better CEO, I'm a better teammate, whatever it is that they go on to do. So super, like I said, super thankful for these guys for buying into that and really drilling down into it, because I think it's changed our program.
We'll stay here right here in the front row.
Ralph Russo from the Associated Press. Sark, they're just playing off of that. When you talk about guys buying in, I guess who would be some of the guys who were important buy-ins? In other words, maybe guys who bought in and then led others to say, hey, we got to get on board with this.
Yeah, no, when you look at it, when we got there 3 years ago, naturally, here's a new head coach, all right? What's this going to look like? We're just coming out of COVID. There was a lot of things happening in society. There was social injustice, civil unrest. There was a lot of things going on. And so I just felt like to be authentic early on was important. Fast forward now 3 years later, those guys that are still on our team today that were here 3 years ago, all of those guys were critical, right? Jordan Whittington, Tavondre Sweat, Byron Murphy, Xavier Worthy, Jaron Thompson, Jade Barron, I'm naming a few, right? Christian Jones, all those guys that were here and they're still here. When they could have left, they could have went in the portal, that stuck it out. I think those were the guys that bought in, that were critical, that are helping our younger players. Now, there are two guys that I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that I think were huge in that, was was Bijan Robinson and Roschon Johnson, because I thought those guys really carried the flag for what we were trying to do in our program, when very easily those two guys could have went somewhere else. And they committed to this thing, and DeMarvion Overshone's another guy in that group. And so in the end, when we won the Big 12 championship, Roschon and Demo were there, and I said, man, this is your championship as much as it is these guys that are playing here today, because without those guys early on, we would not have been able to get to the point we are today. Now, these 3-year players have been critical to that and instilling that culture into our younger players as they come into the program.
We'll go to the left side.
Coach over here, Farhan Lalji from TSN. I want to ask you about two players specifically and where you've seen the biggest growth in their games from last year to this year. One is Tavondre, the other Quinn.
Well, I think Tavondre, probably the biggest growth that I've seen in him is, well, there's two things. One is his ability to play consistent football for an extended period of time. He always had the flash plays in him, and he still does. And we see the blocked extra points. We see the 4th and 1 stops. We see the touchdown catches, or last week in the championship game. But what I see is a guy who's playing quality football for 4 quarters, isn't taking plays off. And so that's a real credit to him that he's found that level of consistency to play at. I think the second thing is him understanding how to lead and what being a leader looks like. And he's always had a kind of a polarizing figure in our locker room that way. But I think he's taken it and really used it to become a really quality leader. I appreciate him because he supports our message. And there's nothing better than when the players in the locker room are supporting the head coach that are your leaders, because naturally that everybody else is going to gravitate to that and want to do the same. So those are probably two things that jump out to me for him. From Quinn's perspective, I think naturally understanding the system, right? Systematically of where, why, and how the ball's supposed to go to where it's supposed to go. I think that all started all the way back in January. When we came out of last year's bowl game, I thought Quinn's made a real commitment to become a great player. And we all saw him cut the mullet and shave the beard. But what he did with his diet, the work ethic that he had, all winter conditioning, the separate throwing sessions with the wideouts to really be on the same page with those guys outside of the work that we were requiring them to do. I think all of that added up to he's played at a high level and that the guys around him believe in him. And so, when he went down earlier this year, we knew it was going to be a challenge to get through the next couple games without him, and we found a way to do that. And when he came back, I knew he wasn't quite 100%, but I knew that we would play even better around him because he is that guy that can lift people up. And he's finally got himself back healthy, and I think it's shown here the last couple ball games of the type of player that he really is. And he's what I also love about him is the bigger the moment, the more calm and cool the guy is. He plays at a really high level when his best is needed, and that's a sign of a really good quarterback.
We'll stay on the left side, front row.
Coach Sarkisian, good morning. Terry Middleton with Horns Illustrated.
Good morning.
So everyone knows you as the great play caller. Coach Flood talked about yesterday your ability to change the plays in real time. Players recognize it when they're on the sideline when you get going. This morning, I saw your post and you said relentless. When you construct your game plan, is that what you're after? And then being relentless for the entire game, not letting up? Well,
I think, appreciate you following my post, but all I really try to do when we're calling the game is put our players in the best position to be successful so that hopefully we can win the ball game. And, a lot of times people, and it's natural as a fan, I'm that way too when I'm a fan. Like, the plays that work, those are the good calls, right? And the plays that don't, why do you call that? And so I try to remove the emotion of it, and I try to call the best plays available to put our players in position to be successful. And sometimes they're the really cool, fun plays, and sometimes they're the not so sexy you run the ball in between the A gap and you pound it in there because there's some attitude behind that. And so, I think most people would think, well, he's on a roll is because I'm calling all the stuff where there's people going every different which way and so on and so forth. But sometimes I'm on a roll when we run it 3 or 4 times in a row because I know we need to get momentum back on our side. I know our defense may need a rest, things of that nature. So I just try to think big picture. I try to think just beyond how many points are on the board at the moment. I try to think big picture, what's the score going to be at the end of the ball game. And I love that aspect of the game. I love digging into it. Most people say, they ask me, what's your hobby? What I do is my hobby. I love what I get to do every single day. And so relentless to me is that I just keep digging and you keep going. And that doesn't mean that you call everything that you dig for, but at least you have a little bit of understanding of, okay, these are all the things that potentially I could do. Here's the plan. This is what we want to get done.
Go to the right side, front row.
Ross Dellinger, Yahoo Sports. Sark, I think 10 years ago this month, you left Washington after 5 years there. I know it might seem like a different lifetime after everything that's going on in your life the last 10 years, but when you look back on that, how much of a different person were you there than you are now, and what maybe did you learn from experiences there that now help you at Texas?
Yeah, I'd say first and foremost, I loved my time at the University of Washington. There's great people at that university. There's great people in the city of Seattle. I would not be here today if it weren't for those 5 years at the University of Washington, and if it weren't for Scott Woodward and Mark Emmert and them taking a chance on a guy who had never been a head coach before at 34 years old. And I always say when you take over a program and you end up leaving, whether you decide to leave or they decide it's time for you to go, because it always goes one of two ways, okay, is the program in a better spot today than it was when you got here? And I think I can unequivocally say that we were able to do that. And so I was proud of what we were able to accomplish at Washington, and the relationships that I was able to forge with the people there, with the players that we recruited. And I'm proud of what they've been able to accomplish since I've left. What Coach Peterson was able to come in and do, what Coach DeBoer is doing now. There's a lot of pride in that university and that football program. And so looking back on it, I'm glad that I have somewhat of an impact on where they are today because I felt like we did some really good things. And so I'm very grateful, very thankful for that opportunity. And like I said, I think it shaped who I am today for those 5 years that I got a chance to have there.